to another edition of Caribbean Law TV. Tonight, as usual, I'm your host, Jason Emmert, and I'm joined with Professor David Rowe. Our guest tonight is Kwame Kandikor, a 3L at the University of Miami School of Law. Tonight, the discussion is going to be about the Caribbean community. Professor Rowe is taking the view that the Caribbean community is a bad idea. Kwame is going to defend it. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce the moot tonight and let Professor Rowe take over. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmert. And how are you, Mr. Kandikor?
Very good.
It is not my position that CARICOM is a bad idea. It is, however, my position that CARICOM has failed. With the exception of the very significant and important Caribbean Court of Justice, CARICOM has not met the objectives of the Treaty of Chaguaramas, at least not for Jamaica or Jamaicans. Jamaica has not economically benefited from CARICOM. Jamaica, at this stage, does not trade significantly with the other CARICOM nations. And this is not an accident. The other CARICOM nations do not permit Jamaicans to work in their countries without a work permit. Originally, CARICOM was conceived as a free trade area where workers could move from one jurisdiction to the other without the need for a work permit. This benefit has not been extended to Jamaicans. Jamaicans, in fact, are prevented from entry into some CARICOM nations without harassment, as we have noted of the experience of some female Jamaicans entering Barbados. Jamaica has not been able to obtain any significant oil imports from any Caribbean nation. Neither does it receive any significant farming imports from any Caribbean nation. Jamaica must still rely on the metropolitan countries for significant imports. What does CARICOM do for Jamaica? If you look at, for instance, some of the major deals that have been brokered on the basis of CARICOM, you will see that when Air Jamaica was taken over by Caribbean Airways essentially has made Air Jamaica into what is now a Trinidadian airline. It has dissolved any Jamaican aspects to Air Jamaica and has made Caribbean Airways very much an Air Trinidad. Air Jamaica cannot even maintain the peculiar markings on the airline. CARICOM has not played the role to generate capital in Jamaica, although there are Trinidadian banks operating in Jamaica. There are no Jamaican banks operating in Trinidad. It appears that CARICOM has benefited the Eastern Caribbean, but has not benefited Jamaica. For this reason, it is my thesis that despite other successful regional endeavors, such as the Caribbean Court of Justice and the West Indies team, CARICOM itself has been a failure, and Jamaica's withdrawal from CARICOM will not mean a great deal to the average Jamaican. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rowe. Kwame, what do you think about that? Is it a good idea that's just failed? Or, as Professor Rowe states, does it benefit only a few of the members and not all of them equally?
Well, I think it's important to your perspective is what's really important. And we should look at what the original purpose of CARICOM was when it was established back in 1973. And it was threefold, really. Yes, part of the reason was to promote the economic integration of the Caribbean community. And it was also to ensure the benefits of integration are equitable and fair among all its members. But it was also to coordinate the foreign policy so that the Caribbean community could function as one voice in foreign relations. Now, I'd say much of what Professor Rose said is true. However, there are many of these goals have been accomplished. For example, you know, the Caribbean community does help one another when it comes to healthcare and in situations with natural disasters, such as in Haiti. And another benefit is also that it does support the developing countries. And also, in terms of education, it's established the Caribbean Examinations Council so that, you know, for secondary education, all of the entire Caribbean community, it can be on the same page for that. And additionally, there's also the benefit of security, where, you know, CARICOM countries share in the Advanced Passenger Information System and other mechanisms to enhance collective security. So, you know, while you can make an argument that there is a trade imbalance with Jamaica in relation to, you know, other Caribbean countries in CARICOM, and especially with Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think there's any argument that can be made about that. You should also, I think, there are additional benefits that CARICOM does offer beyond those are solely economic. And if Jamaica were to withdraw from CARICOM, I don't think that it would help the economic situation. You know, that would basically, nothing really would change in that matter. However, they would lose those additional benefits of the security, you know, of of being able to rely on the neighboring countries if something were to occur.
Professor O'Connell brings up some interesting points. One question that I would like answered is, does the Caribbean community really advocate in one voice in foreign policy? Or is it fractured and fragmented whenever they're asking for aid and seeking support from around the world, and partners for that matter? And secondly, would Jamaica be benefited by leaving the Caribbean community, or would they be a loser by leaving the Caribbean community? As Kwame states, there are other intangibles outside of purely economic means.
Well, the fact of the matter is that Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, etc., all have separate foreign legations abroad. Jamaica and Trinidad do not have the same foreign policy. They may have similar foreign policies, but their specific foreign policy interests are different. The same thing would go for Barbados and Trinidad and for Barbados and Jamaica. That is why we have separate diplomatic representation abroad. If we had exactly the same foreign interests, we would be able to pool diplomatic representation, but that suggestion has never been made, which shows the singularity of the foreign policy interests of each of the Caribbean islands. The question of security is very theoretical. It is true that when Grenada was in crisis, Jamaica and Barbados and other Caribbean nations did intervene with the United States to prevent ongoing crisis. But for instance, in modern days, would Trinidad and Barbados be able to prevent or to assist with a significant riot that occurs in Jamaica? No. The thought of it is almost ludicrous. Trinidad, Barbados, the rest of the Caribbean have very little to do with security issues in Jamaica. The fact of the matter is that these islands are, although in one sea, quite far apart, and the CARICOM is a very expensive regional bureaucracy for which Jamaica has to bear a significant cost. Jamaica is not doing as well economically as some of its Caribbean friends, and Jamaica just cannot afford the cost of some of the CARICOM regional obligations that it has now. And for those reasons, and for others, I think that Jamaica's withdrawal from CARICOM will not have the slightest impact on the average Jamaican, but will have a tremendous savings for the government revenue.
Kwame, let me bring it back to, I guess if you could say, domestic issues in the Caribbean region. If Jamaica pursues this course, which, with Professor Rowe's ideas tonight, where does the Caribbean community go from here? Where do they go with Jamaica? Where do they go without Jamaica? And I'll give you the last word to sum up your argument.
Well, I would say probably CARICOM will carry on with or without Jamaica. Even though Jamaica is one of the larger countries and they are bearing a significant portion of the economic side of CARICOM, it will not disband without Jamaica. However, I still, the trade imbalance aside, I still feel that Jamaica would benefit from remaining with CARICOM. Simply for even the fact with the Caribbean Court of Justice, having that as an option, that is something that if they leave CARICOM, that will not be there. And also, it's next year will be 40 years since CARICOM was first established. It's still a work in progress. It's certainly not perfect. All the goals have not been reached, but there have been certain strides. And I cannot really make an argument against the fact that the average Jamaican would not feel any different whether or not Jamaica was part of CARICOM. I still just feel that it's too soon to give up and pull away. And there are also certain other benefits, as I said, see the CCJ, even something as simple as the West Indies team. It's a feeling of community, it's a feeling of being part of something. And Jamaica needs that, and I think it is beneficial.
Thank you, Kwame, and thank you, Professor Rowe. It is certainly a work in progress indeed, and I appreciate our guest coming on with us this week, Professor Rowe, as always. And our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Caribbean tonight as they are facing the hurricane and the aftermath of that. So please tune in next week as we cover another interesting topic on Caribbean Law TV. I'm Jason Emmer, and have a good night.